there was just a mass shooting in Rhode Island yesterday that I mentioned at the top of the show by a trans person, a man claiming that he was female. But before that, there was one last Friday, which was horrific. 8 dead, 25 injured in Canada. This is at the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School in British Columbia. And this was unbelievable. The initial alert described the shooter as a female in a dress with brown hair. I mean, that's just dangerous. You're just actually endangering lives. It was a man dressed as a woman, pretending to be female. And then the police later described the shooter as a gun person. They wouldn't call him a gunman, gun person, and was actually correcting people on the gender so that we didn't offend the dead mass shooter. He was a biological male who started identifying as female back in 2023. And they appeased him. They coddled him. They affirmed him. And he, like so many, including the guy who just shot up the Rhode Island ice skating rink yesterday, was driven to madness. And none of the coddling or appeasing wound up helping him. And it actually endangered their families and those around them, including the community. And even in death, in a place as fucking nutty as Canada. I'm sorry to my Canadian friends, but your country's lost its mind. They'll lecture you on pronouns posthumously, standing in a field of blood with the 25 people who are still struggling to save their lives with 8 dead all around them.
And yet the Canadian authorities know that by policing language and by using these, like we're all gerbils getting little electric shocks, by using these constant tools of shaping the way we discuss and therefore think about these things, we don't have to, rather, the Canadians don't necessarily come to the very obvious conclusion, which is that these people are insane and need extremely serious mental help, the ones that think that they're, women or whatever. It's very obvious. It's very obvious to everybody who is thinking for themselves. And also all of the enabling that goes on is a grotesque submission to an evil ideology. I mean, this is how this has to be thought of. This is how it has to be talked about. I have friends now who will refer to, they'll call them like a tranny jihadi. Essentially, these are like holy warriors for the trans agenda now in their own mind. People who think that they are standing up for I don't know what you even say, like the community, because as you know, there's verbiage or there's talk about how there's a trans genocide. Because if you won't affirm, you are erasing, and therefore you not using the preferred pronouns, it's almost like you are making a species or a group of people go extinct. This is bonkersville. Like this is crazy. And yet every major university in this country to this day pretty much still goes along with this, like little automatons that are doing what they're told. Most of corporate America until 5 minutes ago was absolutely devoted to this. And the Democrat Party to this day in this country is still doing this thing. And, we have to see this for what it is.
There was Global News did a report on Friday about what happened in Canada at that mass shooting we just discussed. And listen to how they reported it. It's SOT 3.
As Tumbler Ridge is grieving unimaginable loss, some community members are urging Canadians to resist division.
This is really a time to put that away and to really think about compassion and love.
Trans people are substantially more likely to be victims rather than perpetrators of violent crimes.
There's fear around different identities. What we know is that people don't do these things because of their individual identity.
Between 32 to 41% of trans people are estimated to have attempted suicide in their lifetimes due to stigma and discrimination. Something a now removed Reddit account, JessieBoy347, appearing to belong to Van Roetselaar, described. It really hurts. I am genuinely considering taking my own life.
Yeah, that's
just sheer propaganda. That's a Canadian news outlet. That's fucking propaganda. This is in the wake of this guy shooting Over 30 people, 8 dead, 25 injured. And it's all about how the trans people are the real victims here.
Yes, of course. No, there's and in fact, I think you could, again, I'm not a psychologist, but I did a lot of research into this. It's kind of a covert narcissism, I think they call it, or a victim-based narcissism, where no matter what you do, you're not responsible because somebody else has done something to you first, and therefore you're absolved of all moral agency. And by the way, that you see this with Hamas, for example. Oh, we had to go in with the suicide vest on and blow up a bunch of people on a pizza. Talking about Second Intifada. I'm not talking about this recent war. That's a whole other conversation. But we had to blow up a whole bunch of people at a bar mitzvah. But, they took our land a long time ago. So okay, guys, we need to actually live in the world we're in now and look at ourselves as human beings who make choices and have individual agency. And this is removed from us in these processes where they talk about this. I also think anyone who, if you strip away the propaganda, if you strip away the confusion and degradation that is at the heart of the trans agenda's menticide, both of the individuals suffering from it, but also from all the people who are supposed to clap and say, and like trans affirmation, all this stuff. When they say things like 30 to 40% of trans individuals have tried to commit suicide, which also has nothing to do with the mass shooting, Megyn, which you just pointed out. Why are we're trying to create sympathy? But maybe that's because they're deeply mentally ill, and instead of applause and special days in school celebrating it, we should get them help. They need help. That is the kindness. The kindness, and I hate when people weaponize kindness, because it really is the most beautiful human thing, is to be kind to each other and to take care of each other. But when they say, be kind, use the pronouns, pretend that the 200-pound guy who's, breaking girls' noses on the female lacrosse field is just a girl like everybody else. First of all, they're being quite unkind to those women. And in the case of these horrible situations with these mass shootings, it's really, it is evil for the state and for the society.
You're endangering your community. You're
Correct.
endangering your own kids, your society's kids. That's why, Buck, it's like, this year we met Tish Hyman, who is now running for mayor out in LA. You know her. I'm going to show you the clip and she's going to come to mind immediately. But that's why it's so, I call it, I always try to make this show, what I call it, cool water over a hot brain. I don't want the audience to ever have to work for it. I want them to hear the news and it's that they understand it immediately, because I didn't use a term that not everybody understands without defining it. I didn't reference a news story that not everybody knew about without giving them a quick 2-liner on it. And Tish Hyman is cool water over a hot brain. Tish Hyman went out to the Gold's Gym and tried to work out and saw this dude pretending to be a woman, but barely, continuously stripping down in the women's locker room. And she had it. I'm going to show you the clip. You'll remember her, but she's cool water. Here it is.
Gold's Gym, men, grown men with big dicks in the women's locker room. And that's why I'm getting kicked out. And I want to make sure the girls know. The fuck? Everybody saw that man in the fucking locker room. No one's saying shit. And I'm fucking done with it. It's fucking stupid. It's dangerous. Me naked in front of a man without my permission. But I ain't the one who gets kicked out the gym, y'all. I'm terminated for not wanting men in the locker room.
All right, Buck Sexton, you tell me, as the author of Manufacturing Delusion, what makes a Tish Hyman say, F this, it's a no, versus the so many others who get caught up in the madness, bend the knee, say the pronouns, whatever. We're just on the trans thing right now, but we could apply this across the board on the woke issues.
Well, first of all, she's a civil rights hero. And I know that the media will never say that, but she's standing up for the civil rights of women. Full stop. If I had a daughter, I have a little son, but if I had a daughter who was trying to work out in the gym and she had some dude next to her, and the whole, so we can't have gender separate spaces, we can't have women feeling safer, and anyway, we know this, but you're asking a very important question, and I do get into this toward the end of the book. And by the way, one thing that I'll just note I have a whole chapter, Megyn, on how mind control in the era of AI and deep fakes and possibly even brain implants, like we're entering a whole new. So it's really important to understand all this stuff now and how these things work together and how these tactics are used against populations for control and for power, because that's ultimately what this is about. This is about controlling people so that, you know, you can be in power, the group, the entity, whatever, the individual. There was also incredible brilliance and beautiful thought that came out of some of the dissidents. And one of the great examples of that would be Alexander Solzhenitsyn. And his probably most famous phrase is, "Live not by lies." And that's it's a very important proclamation. It's a very important mantra. The woman that you showed here out at that gym, and I remember that clip very well. We talked about it on radio. She refuses to live by the lie. She just won't do it. And if you go through your life that way, if you refuse to live by lies, it's really hard to control your brain. It's really hard to make you part of the hive mind, to make you a tool in someone else's quest for power, to bring you into political madness, the madness of crowds. And really all starts with the individual. There's no group defense against this. That's what everyone has to do. It's all an individual. It's a group process of falling into madness, but you only return to your senses one by one, as actually Mackey in The Madness of Crowds wrote not too far back. So yeah, that's
Buck, this is incredible. This is such an important book right now. I mean, this social experiment, this seizing of control in every corner is happening all around us. It really does explain what we have seen on the streets of Minneapolis, what we've seen when it comes to the trans madness, what we've seen when it comes to some of these mass shootings, what we've seen with the crazy race essentialism and people pretending that things are as bad right now as they were during Jim Crow. It's because these people have been the victims of manufactured delusion. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There is a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it is a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.